In 1922, a single black hen in a dusty Australian contest yard dropped an egg every single day for nearly a year, shattering the limits of what biologists thought a bird could do. She was a Black Australorp, and she produced 364 eggs in 365 days without a heat lamp, without synthetic layer mash, and without antibiotics. Her feathers were slick like spilled oil. Her body was built like a cast iron stove. She was the ultimate homestead machine, a living engine of food security that required almost nothing to operate. Today, if you walk into any commercial supply store, you will not find her descendants. You will find fragile, patented hybrids that burn out in 18 months. It did not disappear because it failed. It disappeared because it worked too well. We are standing in the shadow of a $250 billion egg market that relies on a single, inescapable loop. That loop is built on dependency. The commercial poultry industry cannot survive if you own a flock that feeds itself, breeds true, and resists disease without a pharmacy in the waterer. They need you buying their proprietary feed blends month after month, locked into a cycle of recurring revenue that drains your wallet while filling their silos. When a bird is completely self-sufficient, it becomes an economic threat. Every heritage breed that thrived on pasture, every bird that turned forage into protein without a commercial middleman, had to be erased from the mainstream catalog. They took the genetics that belonged to our grandfathers and replaced them with monetized biology that guarantees a profit for them and a perpetual bill for you. You're paying the same feed bill for a fraction of the resilience. A true heritage flock costs practically nothing to maintain once established. Compare that to the thousands of dollars the average backyard keeper spends trying to keep a fragile hybrid alive. What cannot be sold must be buried. Now stay with me, because this next piece is the one that makes the whole system click. The blueprints for this self-reliance were not lost. They were actively paved over by corporate consolidation. The data was right there, gathering dust in university archives. Look at the 1942 Victory Flock program, where the government begged Americans to raise dual-purpose heritage birds to feed the nation during wartime. Millions of families achieved total food sovereignty in their own backyards almost overnight. The industry saw the danger in that independence. By the 1945 Chicken of Tomorrow contest, the narrative drastically shifted. Supermarket chains and corporate agriculture conglomerates sponsored a massive push to breed birds not for hardiness or longevity, but for rapid growth and feed conversion in confined spaces. The independent homestead flock was suddenly branded as obsolete. They ignored the 1949 Ohio Agricultural Experiment Station deep litter research, a brilliant study proving that chickens raised on their own composting bedding developed natural immunity and generated their own vitamin B12. Why promote a floor that heals itself when they can sell you chemical sanitizers? They wouldn't. Years later, the 2007 A Mother Earth News pastured egg study proved that birds kept on natural forage produced eggs with 2/3 more vitamin A, 2 times the omega-3, 3 times the vitamin E, and 7 times the beta-carotene of commercial eggs. The 2010 Penn State confirmation backed up every single claim. The science is indisputable. The industry pretends it does not exist. Let us look closer at the Black Australorp, the bird they desperately want you to forget. Bred from British Orpingtons imported to Australia, this bird was perfected to forage fiercely in harsh conditions and lay massive, pale brown eggs right through the freezing winter. A mature hen weighs 7 pounds, with legs as thick as a human wrist and a chest like a bulldog. They lay upwards of 300 eggs a year without commercial lighting, finding half their own diet by stripping the yard of ticks, beetles, and weed seeds. Cost per egg from a fragile commercial hybrid factored with illness and replacement is astronomical. Compare that to literal pennies from a single foraging Australorp. The industry pushed them out in favor of the white leghorn, a flighty, nervous bird that produces highly but crashes hard and fast, requiring constant caloric input just to survive. The Australorp was erased because its supreme self-sufficiency generates no recurring profit for the conglomerate. When you combine a bird like that with the forgotten science of deep litter, the profit model completely shatters. Using 12 inches of carbon-rich material like pine shavings and autumn leaves, the floor of the coop becomes a living, heated compost engine. The microbial action devours pathogens and creates a rich black soil that radiates warmth through December snowstorms. A commercial operation relies on expensive heat lamps and monthly bedding replacements. Deep litter costs $0 and provides endless free fertilizer. It was ignored and buried because you cannot patent a pile of rotting leaves. This video is just the surface. I've collected everything the commercial poultry industry doesn't want you to know, all inside the Backyard Vault Master Archive. The Heritage Breed Selection Matrix, the Zero-Cost Deep Litter Blueprint, the Pastured Egg Profit Guide, the Perennial Forage System, and the Homestead Antibiotic Alternative Manual. Over 10 complete guides in one place. No fluff, straight to the point. The link is in the description, but stay here. We are just getting started. If you have made it this far, you already know more about heritage flock resilience than 99% of backyard keepers. Consider the original, non-industrial Rhode Island Red, a breed developed in 1854 in Massachusetts. I'm not talking about the watered-down production reds you buy at farm stores today. I'm talking about heritage lines, birds so dark their feathers look like wet mahogany in the sunlight. True heritage. Rhode Island. Red roosters weigh close to 9 pounds, with a broad chest and a fiercely protective instinct that makes them lethal to predators. The hens are relentless foragers, turning rocks and ripping through tough pasture grass to lay up to 280 large brown eggs a year. They routinely live and produce for 8 to 10 years. The commercial industry cannot tolerate a 10-year lifespan. They bred the modern layer to burn out its reproductive tract in 18 months, so you're forced to buy replacement chicks continuously. The Heritage Rhode Island Red was marginalized because its longevity and robust immune system destroy the recurring revenue model of the commercial hatcheries. When you pair a heritage bird with a closed-loop protein system like the black soldier fly larvae bucket, you completely eliminate the need for store-bought feed. In the 1970s, resourceful homesteaders documented a simple setup using a suspended 5-gallon bucket filled with kitchen scraps. The bucket develops a self-harvesting colony of black soldier fly grubs. As the grubs mature, they naturally crawl up a ramp and drop directly into the chicken run, delivering a massive 42% protein punch to the flock. The grubs are plump, writhing, and packed with calcium, triggering a feeding frenzy that builds dense muscle and dark, rich egg yolks. A single bucket system can generate hundreds of pounds of high-grade feed every summer for 0 cents a pound. The commercial feed industry hates this. When was the last time a poultry supply catalog told you to stop buying protein crumbles and start cultivating free insects? They didn't. They never will. The soldier fly system was suppressed because you cannot extract profit from a bucket of compost and wild flies. Stay with me. The next vault is the heaviest. Look into the frozen north, and you will find the Chantecler, the ultimate cold-weather survival bird. Created in 1907 by a monk at the Abbey of Notre-Dame-du-Lac in Quebec, this chicken was specifically engineered to thrive in sub-zero temperatures without losing a single toe to frostbite. They have practically no wattles and a cushion comb that sits flush against their skull, preventing the tissue from freezing and dying. Their feathers are so densely packed they feel like a heavy wool blanket to the touch. A Chantecler hen will happily forage in a foot of snow and lay a massive brown egg when the thermometer reads 20 below zero. A flock of these birds guarantees fresh protein in the dead of winter, without a single electric heat lamp or insulated barn. The typical commercial bird drops dead if the coop temperature dips too low, forcing you to buy expensive heating equipment that spikes your utility bill and creates a constant fire hazard. The Chantecler was buried because its genetic armor against the cold renders the entire winterizing supply industry useless. It survives on its own, and survival cannot be monetized. To maximize that survival, the old-timers relied on fermented feed. By taking cheap, whole grains and soaking them in water for 3 days, lactobacillus bacteria begin to break down the phytic acid in the hulls. The water turns cloudy and smells sharply sour, like fresh sourdough starter. This simple fermentation process unlocks massive amounts of hidden nutrients, increasing the vitamins and making the protein vastly more bioavailable. A hen eats exactly 1/3 less fermented grain than dry grain, yet lays eggs with yolks so orange they look hand-painted. You cut your feed bill by 33% simply by adding tap water and waiting. The commercial feed conglomerates do not want you fermenting your grain. They want you pouring dry, dusty pellets into a plastic trough twice a day so you burn through 50-pound bags as fast as possible. Fermented feed was erased from the modern homesteading curriculum because it extends your resources and dramatically reduces your dependency on the feed mill. To preserve this massive egg bounty, our ancestors relied on water glassing, perfected in the late 1800s. Mixing pickling lime with clean water in a stone crock creates a highly alkaline solution that seals the invisible pores of an unwashed eggshell. Drop a fresh egg into this milky liquid, and it suspends in time. When you pull that egg out 8 months later and crack it into a hot skillet, the white sits up firm and the yolk stands tall. $3 of lime preserves 1,000 eggs through the dead of winter. The grocery complex wants you terrified of storing food without electricity. Water glassing was violently sidelined because true food security means you do not need the grocery store in January. It breaks your dependency on the grid. That is a threat they cannot tolerate. They buried the Black Australorp, the deep litter system, the black soldier fly, not because they failed the homesteader, but because they failed to generate a profit. These systems were erased because self-reliance starves the corporate machine. But this knowledge did not die in those university basements. It was simply waiting for us to dig it up. The image of a massive black hen scratching through steaming living soil in the dead of winter is our birthright. When you hit the subscribe button and share this video, you are not just passing along an algorithm link. You are returning stolen property to a family that needs it. You are handing them the keys to their own independence. The archive is open now, and we are not closing the doors. Join us next time as we break into the next vault, uncovering the forgotten perennial garden that produces thousands of calories without a single dropped seed. The system is finally exposed.